better. Oh, thanks, Neelam. They've tried, but they feel like they can do better. They've had many different setbacks. So that's really where the idea of this session came from. What we've done is put together a couple of different challenges that we constantly hear nonprofits telling us about engaging with individuals in their fundraising specifically. And we have put in some tips and some things that we have learned from witnessing and engaging with nonprofits, especially global nonprofits from around the world, as well as nonprofits in India. So by no means is this going to be a masterclass that will give you all the solutions for all the problems with retail fundraising, or all the answers to your questions, but we are hoping that this will be a first step for you to start thinking in this direction, and will give you some ideas into what you can potentially explore with the challenges that you're facing with everyday giving or individual giving or retail fundraising. So that's the context on this session. I'll introduce myself and then quickly pass on to Mihika. My name is Kavita. I work as the senior advisor for Giving Tuesday in India. I have 14 years of experience in the nonprofit sector, primarily in the area of volunteer engagement and fundraising. Prior to joining Giving Tuesday, I've worked with a global crowdfunding platform called Global Giving. Some of you may be familiar with it. It is the world's largest and first crowdfunding platform for nonprofits. I used to work as the India representative, and I learned a lot about engaging with individuals as givers through my experience there and by watching the nonprofit partners that were engaging with global giving at the time. So that's the background I come with. So, Mihika and I are happy to answer any questions you have, even outside of this session. And I'll pass it on to Mihika to introduce herself.
Thanks, Kavita, and thank you all for joining us today. I'm the India Partnerships Consultant with Giving Tuesday. And over the past 3 years of working with Giving Tuesday, I have learned from and supported a lot of organizations with their, strategies, with their retail fundraising strategies. And like Kavita, I spent a little bit of time at Global Giving as well, where I supported organizations in South India and in Nepal to make the most of the Global Giving platform and create really engaging crowdfunding campaigns. So yeah, very excited to be here, and hopefully we're able to add some value to how you're already thinking about your fundraising. And of course, as Kavita mentioned, just share any of your questions in the chat or out loud, and either one of us will address them.
Thanks, Mihika. Great. So, I used a lot of words in that context setting. I said individual giving, everyday giving, retail fundraising. Just want to clarify what we are talking about today, right? We're talking about raising money or other resources, but more so raising money from individual donors or givers. That's what we're talking about. So when we say retail fundraising or fundraising from individuals or engaging with everyday givers, this is essentially what we mean. Just want to set context before we move forward. But why retail fundraising, right? Why should we engage individuals in the work that we do? A lot of you already do engage in individual givers. So you would know, you would all have different reasons why you do it, but just want to highlight a few of them. One is that having, even 10, 50 or 100 individuals from your community who have supported your organization, who have put in their personal money to support the work that you're doing, lends legitimacy to your organization and the work that you're doing. It demonstrates the fact that these people find your organization trustworthy and they've come forward to give their money and sometimes their time or their skills to the work that your organization is doing. So even when you are reaching out to larger institutions or CSR to raise money, showing the fact that so many individuals have put their trust in your organization actually lends legitimacy and demonstrates that trustworthiness of your organization. Then the next one, which everybody here knows about, is the fact that even though the funds we raise from individuals may be restricted to specific projects that your organization is doing, it is also very unrestricted, like much more unrestricted in nature than any other form of funding that you can get, which means you can use a portion of that money to be able to build the capacity of your organization, to build the resilience of your organization, to experiment and try something new, to do things that a CSR funder or institutional grant may not allow you to do. So getting this getting funding from individuals actually adds a lot more cushion and a lot more support for your organization, because you're able to build the capacity of your organization with the funding you get from retail givers. And last, my favorite one is that it helps build community, right? And it's two things. One is it helps your organization build a better community around you, a community that cares about the cause that you work in. But it also gives everyday people an opportunity to contribute towards a cause that they care about. You're giving an opportunity to individuals that may be able to give only small amounts of money, but they are still feeling like they contributed towards making their community a better place. So the most important reason I would say is that it helps build community. And for many of you, you would have many more reasons why you engage with individual givers. But just wanted to highlight a few here. Now, a question for all of you, right? Have you faced any challenges when it comes to fundraising from individuals? What challenges have you faced? And I saw some people say that you've never engaged with individuals. Why haven't you tried it yet? Is the question I have. So you can either unmute and answer, or you can put into the chat box. Maybe we'll hear from 2 to 3 people, and then the rest of you can put into the chat box. Anybody who would like to answer this? You can unmute and respond. Any challenges that you faced when you're trying to engage with individuals in your fundraising? No challenges? Okay, I see so many NGOs asking the same pools of people for support. Very interesting. Okay. Don't have any idea. Okay.
Yeah, basically, the most important challenge is that if the number of followers on your social media, then only you are able to catch up retail funding. Otherwise, if you have no followers or less followers, then you are not able to beat that, achieve that goal.
Got it.
What we are facing basically, because we are doing better, we are doing good, but our followers are let's 300, 500 only, and which we are not able to represent to the community, correct? Because it only engaged only chain by chain. But when who are there, they are not spreading those messages to the other groups or organizations. So your followers are less. If followers are correct, then only we can get a high majority of funds through the retail funding.
Got it. Thank you so much for sharing that, sir. Thank you. There's more coming into the chat box as well. No access to HNIs. Okay. Constant donations. How to move
Hi,
individual
Kavita.
donations. Yes,
It's
Hiren.
Hiren here. Yeah.
Yes.
How are you? Good.
Good. Doing good.
Yeah. So what also I feel is that people are don't trust nowadays NGO much more because of the day by day the kind of number of NGO is getting blacklisted or maybe highlighted because of FCRA, the norms and got stricken. So
Yeah.
people don't feel that much connected whether their money is going for the right cause or not, and that is the reason
Yeah.
it's find very difficulty to raise the fund for the NGO, whether it's a popular NGO or organization or not a popular organization. And this is what I have seen in retail fundraising, especially.
Got it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you to everyone who shared in the chat box as well. I mean, real challenges, right, that all of you have expressed. Just want to highlight 3 common challenges that we constantly hear from the nonprofits that we talk to. One is that no one gave to our fundraiser, right? So we started a fundraiser and we maybe put up something on the internet. Somebody said, they have low social following, but no one gave to our fundraiser. No idea why. We did all the work, but nobody gave to us. Second challenge is that we have asked everybody in our network already. All the people we know, we have asked for funding, and now we have exhausted our network. Sometimes it's embarrassing to keep going back to the same people again and again to ask for money. So we have asked everyone in our network. Our network is currently exhausted. That's the second challenge that we hear. The third one is that our cause is not crowdfundable. So basically, nonprofits are saying, the work that we do is very niche or it's very difficult. Maybe we are doing really complex work related to climate action, and it's very difficult for us to explain the work that we do to individual people. So our work cannot be funded by individuals. Our cause is not crowdfundable. These are top three common challenges that we constantly hear nonprofits say when it comes to retail fundraising or engaging with individuals in their fundraising. We're going to try and share some tips with you for addressing each of these challenges. We only have 90 minutes together today, so we may not be able to give you a lot of answers. We may not be able to do a lot of activities today. However, just wanted to share that we have planned a 3-month-long session that starts in the month of August. There are 7 sessions, and each session will go deep into different aspects of dealing with individual fundraising, especially running a successful campaign, engaging with individuals, prepping you for the giving season coming up towards the end of the year this year. So there are 7 sessions. You can see the names of the sessions as well. We'll share more details about this program. It's called Roadmap to Giving Tuesday at the end of today's 90-minute session. So do stay tuned for that. But just wanted to share that what Mihika and I share today, you may not get the answers to all the questions, but we'll try our best to do as much as we can. However, stay tuned for this longer session that we have planned for the middle of this year. Okay, and Mihika has also put the details for registering for Roadmap in the chat in case you want to register for that. We'll share more details at the end as well. Okay, now we'll go into the first challenge that we hear people saying, right? No one gave to our fundraiser. This is what we are hearing nonprofits say. But, at Giving Tuesday, we do a lot of research where we do surveys with nonprofits, we do surveys with givers, and we have done a lot of surveying of individuals, but this is global data. However, this has been validated by the How India Gives report which was done by the Center for Social Impact and Philanthropy at Ashoka University. I don't know if you've read that report. The latest one was in 2023. And they have listed down the top reason why people who don't give say they don't give. Can anyone guess? What is the top reason why people in India don't give? Why are they saying they don't give? Anyone in the chat box?
Maybe they don't align with the issue.
Why do you think they don't align with the issue? Okay. There are so many issues, no?
Yeah, no, whatever issue we are asking for, they might not be aligned.
Okay. Got it.
Or they have not been asked before?
They've not been asked before. Anil, love that. That's exactly what the report says, is that people in India who have not given say they have not given because they have not been asked. And I find this so surprising because what we hear nonprofits constantly say is that no one gave to our fundraiser. We asked, but nobody gave. Whereas individuals are saying no one is asking us. Right? Clearly, there is a gap, right? There's some gap between what we as a sector are saying or asking and what people are hearing. Or it could be that we are not actually reaching the whole of this country. This country is huge. There's so many people in this country. Maybe we're not reaching everyone. Maybe everyone in this country is not being asked. We feel like we're asking too much, but maybe that's not to the rest of the session because it actually gives me a lot of hope when I see this. It shows the fact that people out there actually do want to give, but they feel like they have not been asked and that's why they've not given. So just wanted to leave this out there before we move ahead. I see something in the chat box. Closed mouth don't get fed in is our fundraising team's motto. Absolutely. And I heard someone else recently say you don't get what you don't ask for. That's another team's fundraising motto. And that's exactly what we're hearing people as well say, and that's validated by data. One of the ways in which we have seen organizations who successfully fundraise from individuals do so is by running campaigns. And running campaigns specifically during giving moments. Okay, and so in each of our individual fundraising strategies, we will have multiple sources of funding, right? We would engage with CSR, with institutions, with trusts, with retail, with government. There are so many sources of funding that each of us might be working with. And engaging with individuals in most of our cases will be one of the sources of funding that we have. One thing that some organizations do is that they engage with individuals through the entire year. Right? And which is great if you have to engage with individuals through the year. But accessing new donors constantly through the year might be because it is a lot of work to access new donors and to be able to engage new people into the work that you're doing. What we have seen work successfully is if you run campaigns, what that means is you have a very specific goal, okay? And you have a start date and an end date. And during this period of time, you are going to try and access new donors. And as an organization, you could decide to do one campaign, you could decide to do 2, or you could decide to do 3 campaigns. But we would not recommend doing a campaign for a whole year because that's a lot of work and that messaging gets diluted. But put your effort into 1 campaign a year or at least 2 campaigns a year with a very specific goal. So that's what we mean by a campaign. But why campaigns, right? The first thing is that campaigns create a sense of end date. You're creating that feeling that okay, if I don't act now, then I won't get an opportunity to support this particular cause. So campaigns help you create that sense of urgency. And when you're having a very specific goal, so just, a very simple example, say you want to start class 1 in the school that you're running as for the class, or you need to pay salaries to the teachers, and you need to take care of this by the 1st of May. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. So you may run a campaign in the months of March and April to be able to do that, right? So you're creating that sense of urgency. And with campaigns, you're also using a lot of storytelling. And we'll talk about that towards the end of this session as well, which makes that thing that you're talking about very relevant for individuals. If you start talking about your organization's mission overall and the work that you're doing, all the different projects that you're doing, it sometimes can go over people's heads, right? It might be difficult for an individual to grasp all of that information. But when you're running a campaign, because you're talking specifically about one thing, it becomes a lot more relevant for individuals. The last is that campaigns give you a chance to experiment. So if you are trying to engage with time to another time, from a start date to an end date, that period of time, you can also experiment and try different messaging. You can try reaching out to different types of audience. You can try different channels. You may use social media. You may also use email. So it gives you a chance to experiment as well. We won't go into more details here because we have planned that for roadmap, but just simple press practices. The first one is to have a SMART goal, have a very specific and measurable goal. That have a specific goal for their campaign have very high chance of succeeding as compared to organizations that don't have a goal. The second is very important, have a start date and an end date. Don't run a campaign saying, oh, I don't know, we're just running this campaign, I don't know when I'm going to end it. Always have a start date and an end date for your campaign. And the last one is that try and giving moment means. I think that is a message in the chat box for Hindi. Unfortunately, this session we won't be able to do in Hindi, but Neelam, is there any way for us to, maybe we can plan for a Hindi session later?
Yes, surely, we can.
Yeah. Sorry, to the person who has just messaged in the chat. We'll try our best to keep it simple so everyone can follow. Okay. So what are giving moments, right? One of the things that you can do when you're running a campaign is run the campaign during a giving moment. What does a giving moment mean? A giving moment is a moment in time when people are primed to do an act of generosity or to give. And as organizations, we can create our own giving moments, right? But that's a lot of work. And the good thing is that we don't really have to create giving moments because a lot of them are as well. Now, I don't like drawing this parallel, but for ease of understanding, the commercial world has actually understood the power of collective voice. And how do they do it? They do it through the sales season. And all of us are constantly seeing this, right? In our everyday life. There's a great Indian shopping festival. There's different sales that happen through the year. But what's happening is that all the brands are saying the same thing at the same time with that same voice, which is everything is on sale, come and shop. And there's actually a lot of power to that collective voice. And the commercial world has unfortunately learned it, and they are making use of that. And as a sector, we are also trying to put out doing that enough. And giving moments are an opportunity for us to come together as a sector and say the same thing, which is give to social causes. It's important for you and for me, right? The third thing is that there are many giving moments that happen through the year. We'll share more details about that. And if anyone has ideas, you can pick and choose what giving moment makes the most sense for you as an organization. In some cases, a giving moment might be related to the cause area that you're working on. So World Environment Day just got done last week. If you're an organization that works with climate or with environment, the World Environment Day might be a great giving moment for your organization because there's already so much happening around that's happening around the world on that day. It's a really good way for your organization to ride. And you can even choose a period of time when there are multiple giving moments happening. And towards the end of the year is what we have discovered as the period during which there are lots of giving moments, including Giving Tuesday. And we'll talk about Giving Tuesday now. So Giving Tuesday is once at the end of the year. This year it happens on the 2nd of December, but it started off as a very, very simple idea. It was to make use of this collective voice, right? The collective the power of collective voice. And it started as a simple idea, which is a day that encourages people to come together to do good. And the nonprofit sector is coming together to run their individual campaigns to say the same messaging. And over the last 13 years, this simple idea has actually now grown into a global movement. There are many leaders around the world who are nonprofits around the world that participate in Giving Tuesday and inspire millions of people around the world to come together to give and to celebrate generosity. Like I said, we do a lot of research at Giving Tuesday. And one of the things that we've seen is through some research that we did is that a lot of people say that they even came forward to make a giving for the first time because of the existence of a giving moment like Giving Tuesday. Because of the fact that, oh, today everybody's talking about giving, I think I need to also come forward and give. It's very similar to, your value. I feel like I should also do something for my father. It's the same thing. Everyone's talking about giving on this day, and a lot of people are saying because of that, I came forward to give. The next is that a lot of people are saying they gave because they felt like they were a part of something much bigger than themselves. They were part of a group of people doing good together. So they didn't feel like they were giving by themselves. They are making this contribution alone, but they felt like they really see the power of giving moments here. This year, Giving Tuesday is happening on the 2nd of December, and that's one of the first Tuesdays of December this year. And just to show you the actual monetary power as well, right? Giving obviously happens in different forms, but on Giving Tuesday in the US alone, which is where we are able to track data most efficiently, last year on this one day, $3.6 billion were raised. And I want to clarify, Giving Tuesday is not a platform. It's not an entity. It is just an idea. It's just a day when people are coming together. And this money was raised all for nonprofits, not from large institutional funders or CSR. It's all individual people coming together to give to nonprofits. The average donation size was about $150 last year. So it's small amounts given by people like you and me. There's giving that's happening around the world. Unfortunately, the US is where we have most amount of data partnerships, which means we have part on what's happening on that day. So a lot of giving happens in the form of money, but what we are also seeing is that giving happens in many different forms. And in the Giving Tuesday world, we call it the 5 T's of giving. That's the giving of time, talent, treasure, which is things and money. Giving of ties, that is your connections, your network, and giving of testimony, that is your voice, you're standing up for a specific cause. And we strongly believe that everyone in the world has something that they can offer. And every act of generosity, whether it's small or big, actually counts. And we are seeing giving happening in all forms on Giving Tuesday. So you can see, again, this is data from the US. There's people have given their voice, people have volunteered, people have given things, people have given money. And for the first time last year, we also tried to collect the data of what's happening on India. This is self-reported data from nonprofits and people in our network. So you can see here, we were able to raise about 3.7 crores as a sector on that day. This is, again, not funding that comes through Giving Tuesday. There is no platform called Giving Tuesday. This is money that's raised by organizations through individuals. And you can see the number of people who volunteered, distributed goods, etc. But you might say that, oh, if all of us come together at the same time and say the same thing, and I saw someone put this in the chat box as well, too many people asking the same individuals for money, you might think that you will only get less, right? If you're all coming together to ask the same thing. And this type of thinking, there's an economic term for it. It's called the belief that there is only a limited amount of resources in this world, right? But if you think about generosity, it's actually not finite at all. Generosity is abundant because generosity can happen in so many different forms. We just have to be creative in the way we are engaging with individuals and in the way that we want individuals to engage with our organizations. So thinking that that resources in this world is limited and you saw the data, right? People are saying they're not giving because they have not been asked. Limited way is actually harmful for the sector. And there are so many ways in which we can practice an abundance mindset in our fundraising practices. We'll put a link into the chat box as well for that blog with some interesting ideas. But just wanted to leave this thought out there that actually resources are not finite. There is abundant resources. We just have to be creative in the way we access it and the way we engage with individual people. Okay, quick question for everyone here. What are some other giving moments that you can think of? We obviously spoke about Giving Tuesday. Are there other giving moments that you have heard about or you've participated in? Can you put into the chat box? Yeah, I see Joy of Giving Week. Yes. National days, religious holidays. Yes. Danutsav. Yeah. Danutsav. Diwali. Great. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, these are all great examples of other giving moments. So last year, just sharing one example from a nonprofit, an organization called Vidya Loka ran an experiment during Giving Tuesday. What they did was they ran an employee-led fundraising campaign. So for the 2-week period of the campaign, they asked all their employees, irrespective of which team they were part of, maybe they were in their program team, maybe they were in operations, but they all came together and ran this fundraising campaign. They were able to raise a little bit of money, about 150,000. But more than the money, they were able to bring new donors into their cause. They were able to deepen the bonds within their teams. And they were able to, their employees felt more connected to the cause after they were part of this fundraising campaign because they were able to go out and talk about the work that they do, which otherwise they can't as an operations or an MLE team member. So a question that I'm leaving here for all of you as a reflection point, how many campaigns are you able to do this year? And around which, giving moments will you plan them? Mihika, I just need to step away for a minute if you can facilitate this.
Sure, of course. Yeah, so if you can put this in the chat, this year, how many campaigns are you able to run? And around which giving moments are you going to do them? This doesn't have to be your full strategy, but it's useful to think about it now and share with each other. If you have any thoughts, you can either unmute or you can also share it in the chat. No one's going to run a campaign this year? Or have you already run any campaigns? Danutsav and Giving Tuesday may be two options. Great, Carlos. Thank you so much. And just to say that they're very close to each other, right? So maybe it can start in Danutsav and end on Giving Tuesday. So you make use of kind of both of them, but you don't have to do double the work. That's just an idea as well. Any other campaigns during Danutsav and TMM 2026? Can you say what's TMM? Tata Mumbai Marathon. Oh, okay, great. Yes, amazing. Mumbai Marathon sounds like a great time to engage new donors and get people excited about your cause. Amazing.
Great. Thank you, Mihika. Sorry, I had to step
No
away from it. Yeah, I see a lot of great ideas that have come into the chat box. Amazing. Yeah, marathons are also great giving moments, actually, because everybody's thinking about giving at that point of time. Okay. Actually, I hand it over to Mihika at this point.
Yes.
So Mihika, over to you.
Thank you. And also, if you have any other questions about what Kavita has shared, please ask in the chat. I mean, either of us will be able to address them. Okay, so on with the workshop. Hopefully you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Amazing. Okay, so the first challenge that we talked about, which Kavita kind of gave you a different way to think about, was we had a fundraiser, we did something, but nobody really gave. And maybe our response to that is maybe you are asking at a time where people are not likely to give. And how can you use campaigns and giving moments to kind of maximize and increase engagement for your cause? The second challenge that we like to address, and which we could also look like, we don't really have a network. We don't really know who to ask. Another question for all of you, again, to share in the chat, or if you have any thoughts you can share out loud. What do you feel is the top reason why people don't give again? They might have given once, but they're not giving again. There's many answers to this question. So in your experience, what do you think people are feeling that they're not wanting to give again? If you're not connecting with them after exactly, they may want to give to another cause. They don't feel important. Exactly. The impact wasn't properly shared with them. Yeah, absolutely. So many different ways of saying something very similar and integral to retail giving, which is people don't feel appreciated, right? So what you have to remember when you're doing retail fundraising is that the person you're talking to at the end of the day is someone just like you and me, right? They want to feel thanked, they want to feel appreciated for what they're doing. And what's happening oftentimes when people are doing individual giving campaigns or fundraising campaigns is that they are having a massive leaky bucket problem. Now, they use this in like marketing language a lot as well. With each campaign, your focus is only how do I get new people to give? But you're not plugging the holes in your existing bucket, which is your current donors are not able to give to you again. So on balance, even if you add many more donors to your bucket, the bucket will still remain the same because the existing donors are not giving again. So what we're going to talk about today is some ways get your existing donors to give again and really think about how you can do relational fundraising, right? So this is kind of a new term that we're introducing, which is from transactional to relational fundraising. And really, what does relational fundraising mean? It means that you focus on building relationships, right, with your donors. You start seeing them as more than just financial supporters. And crucially, you start seeing them as champions, advocates, and ambassadors for your cause. Now, this is really important, right? Not just so that you can have recurring donors, but that your existing donors can also get you more donors. So just to show you the difference between transactional fundraising and relational fundraising. So in transactional fundraising, you're probably applying a one-size-fits-all strategy where you're treating all your donors the same way, and maybe you're not really doing enough to thank them. But in relational, maybe you're doing it a little more personalized. You're trying to understand a little more about your donors. The messaging or the voice that you're using when you're communicating to your donors is my organization, we are doing this work, and we are uniquely qualified to do this. However, in relational fundraising, because no matter how much we all try, each of our individual organizations will not be able to solve the huge challenges that our world and our community is facing today, right? We need more people. We need to invite more people to support the work rather than to make them feel like all they're doing is giving a donation. So how can you involve them more? How can you kind of create a way to speak to them differently? And your maybe what's happening in your organizational culture, right? And this is really important because fundraising teams and actually all nonprofit organizations have teams who, it's very hard to do this work sometimes, especially for fundraisers. We have targets and we have things that we have to achieve. Existing donors that are giving in a recurring way, then you go from being panicked every time you need money to kind of being generative and supportive, right? Where your own team feels like, okay, this is possible because we have an existing pool of donors. Now, what I don't mean when I say relational is that every single of your 1,000 donors, you have to personally have a connection with. What I mean is, how can you shift your approach to while you're acquiring more donors, to also maintain your existing pools of donors? Now, some best practices for donor appreciation, right? Which is, I'll take your question, Himanshu, just in 1 second. Let me just finish this section. A personalized thank you note, which is sent immediately after the donation. Now, this is not already have this service where you can send a personalized thank you note. Just a reminder that your ATG certificate is not a thank you note. That is a compliance that you have to do. So don't use that in place of your thank you note. Maybe to keep your donor updated about the work that you're doing. And a lot of you said, the impact is not being adequately showcased. That's why people are not giving again. Here are some tips for you to do that. Send an email. We heard from other workshops and other participants that WhatsApp can also be used. So whatever works, update. But an update doesn't mean of the amount you gave, this is how much we spent. Use storytelling, right, from your community to be able to communicate with your donors. What's amazing about your retail donors is that, contrary to CSR and your grants, where the reporting structures and the reporting burden is your retail donor, what touches them deeply is a genuine story from your community. This is the shift that someone has experienced. This is a person from our community who your donation is supporting. And if you do this from the smallest donation to the biggest donation, it will make a huge difference because your donors are more than ATMs. Often what organizations are doing is an appeal, give us money. They are not people where you can just press a button every time and say, give me money and money will come, right? Imagine if someone treated you like that, where it's a friend or a family member, and anytime they reached out to you, the only thing they asked for was money. You'll stop wanting to talk to them. You'll get right? So try and bring back that idea that the people you are speaking to, your retail donors, are people just like you and me. How do you want to get communicated to about something? That's exactly how your retail donor might also feel, right? And I'd love to hear from this group because all of you are doing things. You're practicing some of this on a daily basis. What are you doing to steward your donors to ensure that they're giving again? Has something worked for you? Have you tried something and it didn't work and you want to share with the group? Yeah, what are your practices looking like? Anyone? You tried something new, something different, and it worked or it didn't work? We sent them a monthly update. Thanks, Vijay. Can you share a little more about that update? What do you include in that update? What does it look like? You can share that in the chat as well, Vijay, if you want to. Our project's achievements. Okay, amazing. Yeah, lovely. And hopefully You might add a small story from your community, right, to make that achievement come to life. Himanshu, you had unmuted. Did you want to share something?
I just wanted to say that it hasn't worked. Like I have got an excuse only that there is a fees to like pay of children or something like that, repeatedly from 2, 3 different people. So yeah,
Can you share more? What didn't work for you?
it didn't work. Like when I have asked from like 2, 3 friends slash old colleagues, and I have personally used the word contributed, and they know my work because they keep seeing my what you say status, WhatsApp status, or
Right.
other community and all. Like I made community also, but I got a like response that at this moment it is not possible because there are fees to pay. Maybe later on we can see. So I get confused that how I can ask again.
Yeah.
Means, can I ask again? Even?
Yeah. That's a great question. And thanks, Himanshu. And I'm sure all of us have faced that experience of people saying, I just can't give right now. And of course, not all your donors are going to be able to give again. But I think, Kavita, do you have any thoughts on, can Himanshu ask
That's a great
again?
question. And I think, Mihika, you will share a little bit more on this in a bit. But Himanshu, one thing that you could try, especially because you have a high touch engagement with these individuals, is to ask them if there's any other way in which they want to support you, not money. I mean, you understand obviously that at that point of time, money might be difficult, but is there any other way in which you want to be a part of the work that you're doing, right? Don't ask for it as if you're asking for help. You're asking them if you're actually giving them an opportunity to join the great work that you're doing. So ask them if there's any other form in which they'd like to engage, maybe giving 1 hour of their time to the work that you're doing. And then, the chances of them giving money becomes much higher after that.
Right.
And thanks, Kavita,
Thank you so much. Thank you,
sharing.
Kavita. Thank you.
Thanks for
Yeah,
sharing.
any other query, and maybe you can answer later.
Maybe I'll address it in this section, and after finishing the section, if you still have that question, we'll stop for some questions. But exactly as Kavita said, right? The next thing to consider when thinking about your current donors, right? Your existing crowd is new donors or increasing your community. It's also about making your community work for you. How do you do that? What does that even mean? What does that look like? I'm going to give you some ideas, right? But the first thing to note is often when we do retail fundraising or even crowdfunding, we imagine that there's a crowd out there, that there are all these people who are just sitting there ready to give to your organization. But that's unfortunately not true at all. The only way to get more donors into your organization is from your existing network, right? And maybe if you start thinking about your existing network in this way, through these concentric circles, it might help you think differently about how you can expand your network, right? So your primary circle are the people, your colleagues, your board, maybe, your schoolmates, your alumni groups, or maybe some volunteers who are in your organization. They are all your primary contacts, right? So these are people you have a one-on-one connection with. You can pick up the phone or reach them directly. The second circle is your secondary, the family of your colleagues. Maybe they are the alumni, the college alumni of your school friends, right? So these are your second degree of separation. These are people who your primary contacts know. And finally, it's your tertiary circle, right? These are third degree separation where you don't have any direct connection with them, but maybe there's sometimes people of influence. They are community figures, they are diaspora networks, they are foundations, they are people that you want to reach in some way, but you don't know exactly or you can't reach them directly. Now, this is an exercise of network mapping, a mapping exercise that you single person in your organization. And the chances are that if you identify the primary, secondary circles of everyone in your organization, your pool of potential donors increases significantly. And as Kavita mentioned, the biggest change that you can make in how you do your ask is not everyone in your network is a donor of money, right? But that's okay. Even if eventually your goal and the ways that people can get involved in your organization and in your cause, that can lead to money eventually. Of course, time and talent and ConnectFor does so much work, and all of you as organizations have already experienced the value of having talented individuals with time. What about ties? What about if the only thing that you ask in one campaign is, can you connect me with 5 other people who you think might support your cause? And testimony, so advocacy, right? So an existing donor sharing a simple anecdote from their experience, from their amazing experience as your donor, will increase that, right? So think creatively about who and how you make that ask in your network. Again, data shows us that people want multiple ways to give, right? People want to engage in causes more deeply and in different ways. As you can see in this graph from people who were asked, the giving of only money is the smallest, a pretty high amount, right? Basically, they gave in different ways, or they volunteered and that led them to giving money. They gave money and that led them to volunteering, and so many other creative ways to engage your community. And then finally, in your network, right? And we will do a network mapping exercise in the roadmap workshops. But for now, the best thing to remember is that the only way, right, to go from your primary to your secondary contacts and then far, far beyond is to identify someone in your network who has a large network of their own. Identify someone in your network who has a lot of time to give and is very excited about your cause, and nurture them. Maybe give them a separate goal for themselves, because people, in a lot of people appreciate having more skin in the game, something they can work towards. And crucially, don't leverage all your ambassadors at one go. Think about your campaign. What is it that you want to achieve with your campaign? And basically, in line with your goals, try one ambassador at a time, learn what works, and then grow that pool, right? So as this existing network. Again, a point of reflection from all of you. Have you tried any of this? Because as we keep saying, we are by no means the only, and also not even experts. All of you are the ones who are doing this work, trying new things, and we'll all benefit from hearing, what you've tried, and if something's worked, and if it hasn't, then maybe we all have a suggestion. Or if you have any questions about donor stewardship. Have you tried asking your donor for something else, something creative? And how has that worked for you? That's fine. That's really fine if you haven't. Maybe this is an opportunity for you to start thinking about it. We tried asking some advice on how to grow. Okay. I'm part of various bikers clubs and participate in rides. During that, I make new friends and amazing. That's great. So your first activity, right, that you love to do, and that's how you meet new people. But you also, then those are potential new donors, right? So there's so many spaces where you can constantly meet people. How can you do that? I want help with free tools which could help our fundraising campaigns reaching out to donors. Okay. Can you say a little more about what kinds of tools are you looking for? Because I don't know of any tool where you'll automatically reach new donors, as far as I can tell. Okay, maybe Anil, you can think about that. And Kavita, if you have any ideas as to some of these questions, maybe the best thing to do is identify a crowdfunding platform, and some of them do support in, doing fundraising for you. Although they do take a fee and you don't get access to that donor data, but it is a way to kind of grow your support base. Okay, cool. And the last challenge that we're going to talk about today, which is a very common challenge, but it can also be thought about in a different way, which is that my cause is not crowdfundable, right? I work in something that's complicated, education or health. And so I don't think fundraising or retail fundraising is a good strategy for me. And often what I've heard organizations say is also, I'm not understanding how to communicate to my donors, right? I don't know what to say to donors to actually increase support. And what we're going to be working on together now is a compelling campaign narrative that will inspire support for your campaign. Now, of these two scenarios, right, which do you think is better, A or B? Just share in the chat. And it's not a trick question. B, exactly. Exactly. Thank you, everyone. Instead of talking to your donors to say, I'm doing amazing work, you must give to me, what's a different way of saying that, which is, this is the work that we do, how can we do it together, right? Where there's a huge difference between talking to and talking with your community. And often what I've seen is, because we're all, as people who work in these causes and these areas, we're all really passionate about what we do. We believe strongly in our mission and the goal of our organization. Anyway, but that's absolutely not the case. We have to build that relationship and that excitement among people. And the best way to do that is through a clear, crisp, and conversational narrative. Now, the other two make a lot of sense, but the crisp one is really important. Again, our fundraising pages are full of, details, data, paragraphs and paragraphs about the work that you do and the organization's origins and how important this problem is to solve. But just reflect on your own practice on social media or on any other platform or any news or anything these days, right? The amount of time that we're spending, our attention capacity collectively is becoming less and less. And nonprofits need to adapt, communicate. We can't use the same thing of like, here's a 20-page annual report, please give to me. People don't have the time and space to engage with that. So a crisp narrative is extremely important. And that's what we're going to work on today, which is how to draft a narrative in 3 statements. And by statements, I mean simple line. No extra words, no jargon, but something that's very effective in your communication. The first statement is a belief statement, which is, why is this even important? Why is it important for anyone or for this problem to be solved? You want to connect with your donor. And remember, your donor is an everyday person, an individual just like you and me. Maybe they're in your on a shared belief. Then you want to make them feel like they have something to give. Give them the confidence, give them the sense of inspiration that, I can really do something to solve this problem. And that's your you statement. And finally, the opportunity statement is where you present your campaign as an opportunity, where you share how they are able to give. My goal is to raise 50,000 rupees to provide nutritional supplements to mothers. My belief statement is, we believe that no mother should have to choose between feeding herself and her baby. That's a really powerful statement, right? And it's very unlikely that someone you're talking to will disagree with you, that they would say, no, I don't think we should do this. I mean, I can't think of anyone who would say, no, this is not important. So your belief statement really has to connect on the core, on the central belief behind your work. Then you say, you, my donor, or the person I'm talking to, can help make sure that no one has to make this choice. How 1,000 rupees will cover one mother's cost? How many people will you support? Another example in terms of volunteering or giving of time is, if I have to engage 100 new volunteers to give 2 hours of their time for my educational initiative. Kavita?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you for a minute. Maybe it was mine.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear
Okay.
you.
So if you have to engage 100 new volunteers, right, 100 new people to give 2 hours of their time for your educational initiative, for example, the belief statement is, we believe that regardless of where they are, children should have access to quality education and innovative learning resources, right? It's very unlikely that someone will say, no, I don't think this should happen. The you statement is your knowledge and skills, right? You're letting the donor, the person you're seeking support from, know that they have something to give, that they can actually contribute to making this happen. And it give them a sense of excitement and a sense of, yes, I can do this. And the opportunity then is just 2 hours of your time. And I just want to point out here that nowhere in this are you talking about your organization. What really you're doing is talking about your campaign as an opportunity, right? And the belief behind the work that you're doing. Now, I'd like for all of us to work on our belief, you, and opportunity statements. And even if just the belief statement, that would be great. So if all of you can write down the belief statement that is behind the work that you're doing, right? What is the belief statement for your organization or the work that you do? And please do share out loud or in the chat. We all learn when we all share, right? This is the space for us to try something, and it's not always going to be correct. So yeah, please do share. I'll put this up so that you can have a reference. And if you have any questions, you're not able to write a belief statement or you're struggling, that's also totally fine. This is a difficult exercise. So please, share out loud.
And there's literally no right or wrong answers to this.
100%. Maybe another way of answering this is, why do we do what we do? Why is it important for this challenge to get solved in the world? Nobody? Oh, great. Thank you. No child should start school hungry. Absolutely. What a powerful belief statement, Carlos. Thank you so much. You can make sure they focus and learn well with a nourishing breakfast. Love that. For the cost of a coffee, rupees 260, you can feed a child every month for an entire month. That's a campaign that I want to give to personally. It's like, it's so clear. And I love how, Carlos, you've used the for the cost of a coffee, right? Because you've recognized that your audience is probably buying a coffee. And that's all it takes to make a huge impact. Thank you so much for sharing that. Belief statement. Okay. We firmly believe that, we firmly believe that each classroom has a Mary Com. Yes, a Virat Kohli and a Vishwanath Anand waiting for a platform to show their talent. 100%. I love that, Fareed. Thank you so much. I'm now excited, right, to know more about what it is that you do that can identify these people and nurture them. And these figures are so relatable to all of us that I'm immediately like, yes, this is true. Thank you. You all are doing amazingly. We believe that skill development will be life-changing. 100%. For this one, Nimisha, I might just explain a little more or use different words than skill development, right? Because often what we do as nonprofit organizations is we have very technical ways of talking about something. And we've been in this world and we've done so much research about this issue that we forget that we're talking to just everyday people, or framing of something that someone in your family who doesn't know anything about this issue will understand. Or can we say it in a different way? But thank you so much. We believe every girl child deserves dignity, education, and opportunity. 100%. Amazing. I love all of your belief statements. And, it's really the rule of thumb for a good belief statement is, will someone be able to say no? And if you've been able to crack that, then I think this is a job well done. I believe every child deserves the opportunity to achieve their developmental milestones. Thank you so much, Jaya. And again, my feedback, and you can choose to take it, is words like developmental milestones. I don't know if, for example, my sister, who's a lawyer, will understand developmental milestones. Maybe you want to use different words, something easy, catchy, simple to understand, so that anyone who's looking at this can really, feel the connection to it. Okay, amazing. You all have all got some really great belief statements. But what I wanted to also share is that the belief statement, or these three statements, form the communications or the narrative anchor for your entire campaign. So when you're doing any kind of campaign communication, right? So it's an email, or it's your crowdfunding page, or it's your social media, or anything in relation to your campaign, draw from these three statements to make your case. Remember, it should be crisp. People don't have the time, and you lose them if you spend too much time talking about, your organization and all its achievements. Instead, for your retail donor, it's all about them. It's all about the donor. It's about what the donor can give and how you're going to make them feel really appreciated about supporting your cause. Okay, so we're almost towards the end of this session and we have some time for questions. But I just wanted to do a quick recap, right? So after this workshop, or through this workshop, the first thing that we've worked out is your retail fundraising strategy for the year, which is how many campaigns are you going to do and when are you going to do them? So around which giving moments are you going to do them? Some of you shared earlier, but now that you know maybe what it might take to do a campaign and to do it well, maybe you have a different answer. And I just want to reiterate, the answer is different for every single organization. It's based on your resources, the timeline that works for you. And even if you just do one campaign, make sure you attempt some relational fundraising. Map your network, identify your ambassadors, identify outside of money, what are the different people in your network able to give, right? Include your donors in the conversation rather than just talking to them. Have a simple fundraising narrative, 3 statements that will become the anchor for all of your communication. This is how you will connect with your audience when you have to go out there. And your 3 statements are really helpful because you can give these statements to your ambassadors. You can give these statements to all your employees. You can give these statements to everyone. And then everyone can become a champion for your organization and for your cause, right? In a simple and easy way. And finally, and if you've left this workshop with just one thing, it is that campaigns and fundraising is all a chance to experiment. It's a way to try new things and to learn from them, right? So this one campaign, make an ask in a certain way, see what happens, and then do it a different way the next time. This will help you do it better, and this will help you sustain year on year, where you won't feel like I've been doing the same thing for 10 years and nothing has changed. If you're not learning through your efforts, then you're actually just repeating the mistakes again and again. And finally, if any of you are feeling to your retail donors, to your friends and family and network, can I ask again? And is it okay to ask? And I don't like, it's very uncomfortable. Go into the fund in your fundraising with the confidence that people who are giving to your organization, they are not doing you a favor. They are not doing you a personal favor. Your organization, your cause is actually giving people an opportunity to show up for something they care about. Millions of people out there, as we've seen through data, want to give. They want to make this world a better place. They want to support their communities. They want to support causes. They just don't know how to do that. And your organization and your cause is the way for them to do that. So if we shift our mindset and if we shift our approach, hopefully it'll help us ask more and ask better. And just before we end, a little more about roadmap, right? So as we've been doing, Kavita and I have been doing these workshops for about 2 years now, right? Supporting organizations. Some feedback we've gotten about workshops is that the trainings don't happen at the time that I have to implement the insights, right? I'm doing this workshop on June, but the giving season was only in October. So how do I, keep all of this and make sure I'm working towards that? The second one is that if we give all the input on planning a campaign all at once, it feels overwhelming. It feels like there's too much information. And sometimes it even leaves participants feeling like they don't want to do retail fundraising, which is the opposite of what we want. And finally, when people are actually planning their campaigns, they don't have anyone to ask questions to or really share and give feedback. So because of all of these things we've heard from organizations, we have designed Roadmap to Giving Tuesday, which is breaking down the entire campaign planning process into 7 workshops. And these workshops will be delivered in 2 phases. So the campaign planning phase will be from August to September, where in 1 hour, every 2 weeks, you will work on a very specific issue. So let's say the first workshop is on SMART goals. We'll spend 1 hour working on SMART goals, and you really have that dedicated time, right, to make sure that happens. Then you have a campaign that you'll actually be able to implement in October when the giving season starts. In November and December, we're going to do campaign tracking. How do you steward your donors? How do you learn? How do you manage your database? You will have everything you need to launch your campaign this giving season. And crucially, you'll have a community of organizations, just like all of you, right? To learn from, share with, and do it together. So we really hope you will join us for Roadmap. I'll share the link again in the chat as well, but you can scan this QR code and we'll get Neelam and our friends at ConnectFor to also share information about this with you in an email. And we really hope to see you there at Roadmap so that you can work on your campaign and actually do something this year so that you can learn from. And I again want to thank all of you for being here and for all of this work that you do to make the world a more generous place. We do have, I can tell, 10 minutes for questions. Any thoughts, any feelings from this workshop, anything you want to share about your experience as well? Yes, thanks, Kavita. It's a free training. Please feel free to even bring more than one person from your organization to each of the workshops if you feel it's important. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. And we'll stay on for We'll stay on for another 10 minutes. If anyone has questions or anything you want to share. Thank you. Thanks, Himanshu.
Yeah, so Mihika and Kavita, on behalf of ConnectFor, thank you so much for your time. And this was really, really, I could say, very insightful this session. A lot of, I hope the participants must have got lot of tips and tactics on retail fundraising, and they must have enjoyed the session also. Yes, thank you, Carlos. Thank you for it. Absolutely.
Mihika, Kavita, just one question. Sorry, Neelam, can I ask?
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah. So generally, whenever like I'm sharing about my work, or people are trying to ask, their first question is, from where do you get the funds? So my question on this is that like instead of offering that okay, we would like to contribute, their only question starts and ends there. That's it. Like that is very difficult for me to like listen that question, answer that question. Am I clear in my question?
Himanshu, if I can understand a little more, what's happening is you're going to someone asking for support, and the question
No,
they
no,
are
no,
asking for
no, no,
is
no. No, I'm not going and asking for support. Like sometimes whenever people are asking, okay, what do you do? And
right.
and we are sharing that okay, we are like social workers, trained social workers, and we are running an organization to work on area of child sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, from where do you get the funding? So this is the first question I get. And beyond that, like nothing is there. So how that
Yeah.
can be converted into yeah.
Go
Sorry.
ahead, Kavita.
I'm curious to know how you respond, Himanshu.
Exactly.
Uh, I respond that people like you only sir give us funds.
Exactly.
Exactly. I think that's a great answer. I think you
That's a
can.
wonderful answer.
Something that I generally do is I mention I mean, it's unfortunate that we have to do this, but if you do have some institutional funders or CSR, I mention a few names that might be, something that
Mhm.
everyone knows, something that everyone's
Okay.
heard of. Mention one or two names just so that you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I
Okay.
know this funder or I know
Okay.
this corporate.
And
But then end with saying that people like you are the main core of the work that we do. And it's our duty to be able to support and protect the children that we've brought into this world. And we're looking
Mm.
forward to more people like you supporting the work that we do. I think that's a
Mm.
great way to end it. But also, unfortunately, sometimes this works is the fact that you can mention a name or two that might be something
Okay.
that we have heard.
I might also say something like, so
Mhm.
taking my belief statement, I might also say something like, it's because of the belief that people like you have about
Mm.
the
Mm.
importance of, raising awareness or something about child sexual abuse that our work is able to happen. So it's
Right.
like kind of twisting it around to say, I know you believe what I believe about
Mm. Mm.
this work. Um,
Right.
I don't know. It's like it depends on who you're faced with, right, in this question. But
Mm.
I always find that belief statement gets people asking more questions.
Mm. Mm.
It sparks curiosity more than saying, I work at Giving Tuesday, this is my organization, this is what we do. Instead, I say, I work because I believe that everyone has something to give and every act of generosity counts. Then people are like, oh, what does that mean? How do you do it? And opening
Right.
up space for curiosity.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Okay.
And just want to say that if any of you try, something we've mentioned or anything, please do share with us. Kavita, could you please put our email? I'll put my email ID down here and Kavita will as well. You've tried something, you want to send us your 3 statements, you, you know, have tried, would love to know more about how this training, how this workshop is actually translating into your practices.
Don't worry. I'll share the contact details in the email with the participants. Don't worry. Yeah. So you all are free to connect with the Kavita and Mihika in case you have any queries on their email IDs or on their LinkedIn profile as well. In case you want to receive any details, you can write to us on a ops on our email ID. I've just shared the email ID also ops@connectfor.org.
Thanks, Neelam, for having us. It was really nice to be in this conversation with all of you. to get active engagement is really nice when you're
Yes,
facilitating. Thank you
it's
so much.
100%.
absolutely, it's our pleasure, Kavita, to have you onboarded with us, and we are looking forward to have more such, the sessions and interactions in coming future as
Thank
well.
you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone, for
Thank you.
spending
Bye.
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 Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Yes, yes. In case you have any queries, you can write to us on offsider@connectfor.org, or you can just DM us if you have our contact details. Yeah, thank you. So let's, I guess we can end the
Sure.
session now.
Thanks, Neela.
Thanks, Neela.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mika. Thank you, Kavita. Thank you, all the participants.